Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I read the English. If I read the Bengali, the Pujari falls from the altar. It laughs so much. So, this is now, we are celebrating this famous festival that was instituted by Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami was the son of a very rich man. And tried to run away so many times from home. And finally, he was successful. I mean, most people in Krishna consciousness, we also run away from home in some way. You know, we leave things behind. You know, there are so many friends from the past, and in the West particularly, I mean, none of my friends joined the Hare Krishna movement. Every single one I left behind. See, join in the beginning with people in kindergarten and then in school and so many friends, you know, but ultimately it's like there's one tree and there's a mango on this tree, one mango. And so all these friends, they crawl up the tree like ants. And then the tree splits. So half of it goes that side where there's no mango. Then we climb further. Again there's a split. Again half of them get lost. Again there's a split. More get lost. Again. And finally, very few actually, after many splits, come to this point where the mango is in front of them. When the mango is and that means fortunate, very fortunate. Brahmane Bruni, what is this? Brahmana Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jiva. It's a fortunate soul, Brahmana Bruni. He's very fortunate, and so devotees are fortunate souls. It is actually a very exclusive club. Among the, it's like a club, you know, very famous people gather together in a club. You have to have a lot of money to be a member of a club. So in the same way, Hare Krishna movement is a very exclusive club where people gather who always somehow or other, by the grace of the Super Soul, made the right choice on this tree to reach this mango. We are not yet there. Prabhupada said when we get initiated, we are getting the passport to enter the spiritual world. But we still have to work for the visa. That's the point. We still have to work for the passport we got, but we have to work for the visa. Like Prabhupada was asked on a morning walk, by one devotee, Srila Prabhupada, can you save me? He said, yes, I can save you, but you have to do the work. See, that's the point, you know. He said, I wrote all these books. If you don't read them, then what can I do for you? He said, you know. So we're almost there. We're almost there. And we will. It is just a matter of time. Even if a devotee is not successful in one life, he will be born in circumstances, you know, that Prabhupada will pick him up. You know, Lord Chaitanya will pick him up. There are so many examples of devotees who left in our present time, ISKCON, and even somebody, I remember there was one devotee who was so fallen. I will not describe the details in front of the deities. But in the end, he became so Krishna conscious in his last days that big sannyasis would come and listen to him, what he had to say, because he was so Krishna conscious, And why was that like that? Because he did a lot of service for Prabhupada. He was one of the first translators for Prabhupada. He did so much service. And so, in the end, Krishna picked him up. So, we are definitely on the highway, towards the spiritual sky. That's a fact. As long as we keep on this highway, we are right. We may go slower, faster, even stop to eat some gulab jams, but we are on the way to Krishna. And so therefore this opportunity we must not waste. We must not let go by any means. This is very rare. Bahunam janmanamante, after many, many births, jnanavarmam prapadyati, one who's in knowledge, he turns to me. Vasudeva savamiti, he knows that I'm everything. Samahatma sudulava, such a soul is rare. So he leaves, in Krishna consciousness, we are leaving all these conceptions behind, because the world is full of conceptions of God. There's one verse of Krishna's Kaviraj in the Adi Lila. He cries out that by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, even a child can cross the ocean of theories about God. It's an ocean of theories about God, which is full of crocodiles of various opinions. There's this opinion, that opinion, this idea and that idea about God. Even in Christianity, coming from that background originally, there are more than 6,000 different churches, different opinions, different congregations, who disagree. Why? Because of the mind. The mind. I see it like this, and somebody else sees it like that, and they have a war about who has Jesus. So this is the thing. It's a fantastic verse by Krishna's Kaviraj. It's full of theories about God, an ocean of theories about God. So these theories we have to leave behind. That's why Krishna says, Sarva Dharman Prityaja. We have to leave them behind. Mamikam Sadanam Vraja, and just turn to me. Am Tvam Sarva Papabhyo, I free you from all karma. That's the idea. And we are born in Hindu tradition, we have so many ideas, so many. This demigod and that demigod and this God and that God and this manifestation of God, this avatar in Kali Yuga. And there are so many. One person, he danced in the Rasa dance in America, a so-called God. Prabhupada became so angry, I will not repeat it, but he said he became so upset, because there are so many. So we leave all these paths here, this path, that path is all deviation into different directions. As many as there are people, their opinions really. And one opinion is as good as the other. Because everyone is a defect in this world. Two types of living beings. Some are fallible, some are infallible, Krishna says. In the material world, everybody is fallible. Even the Pope of Rome, although they say he's infallible, he's fallible. And in the spiritual world, everyone is infallible, and therefore we have to follow Mahajana Yena Gatahi Panta in the path of the great acharyas, in the footsteps of the great acharyas. And we will do this now by reading Chaitanya Chaitamrita. I had to say this, I couldn't resist to speak a couple of words of our philosophy before we dive in this nectar. So, when Raghunath Das, during his family life, went to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Shantipur, the Lord gave him worthy instructions by his causeless mercy. Instead of becoming a so-called renunciant, Raghunath Das followed the instructions of the Lord, returned home and played exactly like a pound and shilling man. So he asked him to go home, like even Krishna, when he was dancing with the gopis, he told them, now you have to go home and be a wife. And then he describes the duty of a wife very beautifully in 10th canto. So he was supposed to go home, and that doesn't mean he's a pound and shilling man. Externally, yes. Externally, even in Krishna Lila, at one stage Krishna was a Vaishya. He was born in Vaishya community. He played that part of a Vaishya perfectly. As a child, played the role of a child, you know. And lay on the ground, and Srinivata thought, well, let me pick him up, what's the problem? He didn't understand Krishna. You know, Krishna can be heavier than the heaviest. And so he played the part of a child, of a young man, ultimately he went to Dwarka, he played the part of an emperor, a king. But even though he played the part of a king, he bowed down in front of Yudhishthira. Because Yudhishthira was older. You know, older person. Krishna bowed down. We can learn from him. He was God himself. And he bowed down in front of Yudhishthira. And he embraced Arjuna because he was in Shantarasa with, no, not Shantarasa, what is it? Sakya Rasa, exactly. Sakya Rasa. It was in Sakya Rasa. And he accepted obeisance from Nakula and Sahadev because they were younger than him. He played that part. And so we have to play parts in the same way, as man, as woman, as old people, as young people, as business people. We actually have to play parts like that. But not become absorbed in it, understanding that actually my real identity is being a soul, an eternal servant of Krishna. So he played exactly like a pound and shilling man, says here. Raghunath Das was inwardly completely renounced, even in family life. But he did not express his renunciation externally. Instead, he acted just like an ordinary businessman. Seeing this, his father and mother were most satisfied. Naturally. You know, parents are concerned. When he received a message that Lord Chaitanya had returned from Mathura city, Raghunath Das endeavored to go to the lotus feet of the Lord. At that time, there was a Muslim official collecting the taxes of Satyagrama. Shall I read the purports also? We sit here tomorrow if we go through the purports. I leave it. This is a short one. Formerly, when the Muslim government was in power, the person appointed tax collector would collect the taxes of the local zamindars or landlords. He would keep 1/4 of the collection for himself as profit, and the balance he would deliver to the treasury of the government. Okay. When Hiranya Das, Raghunath Das's uncle, made an agreement with the government to collect taxes, the Muslim Chaudhuri, or tax collector, having lost his position, became extremely envious of him. Hiranya was collecting 2 million coins, and therefore should have delivered 1,500,000 to the government. Instead, he was giving only 1,200, thus making an extra profit of 300 coins. Seeing this, the Muslim Chowdhury was a Turk, became his rival. So even at that time the Turks were here, Turkish people. After sending a confidential account to the government treasury, the Chowdhury brought the minister in charge. The Chowdhury came wanting to arrest Hiranya Das, but Hiranya Das had left home. Therefore, the Chowdhury arrested Raghunath Das. Every day the Muslim would chastise Raghunath and telling him, "Bring your father and your elder brother, otherwise you will be punished." Chowdhury wanted to beat him, but as soon as he saw Raghunath's face, his mind changed, and he could not beat him. Indeed, the Chowdhury was afraid of Raghunath Das because Raghunath belongs to the Kayasta community. What is Kayasta? Scribes? Accountants? Yeah? Kayasta? Accountants, yeah. Although Chowdhury would chastise him with oral vibration, he was very afraid to beat him. So it says here that Raghunath belongs to a very aristocratic family of the Kayasta community. He had substantial influence with local people, and therefore the Chowdhury, or minister, was afraid to beat him. Yeah. While this was going on, Raghunath Das thought of a tricky method of escape. Thus he humbly submitted his plea at the feet of the Muslim Chowdhury. "My dear sir, my father and his elder brother are your brothers. All brothers always fight about something. Sometimes brothers fight among themselves." Very true, I know this. And therefore, sometimes they're very friendly dealing. There's no certainty when such changes will take place. As I'm sure that although today you're fighting, tomorrow you three brothers will sit together in peace. Just as I'm my father's son, so I'm also yours. I'm your dependent, and you're my maintainer. For the maintainer to punish the person he maintains is not very good. You're expert in all the scriptures. Indeed, you are like a living saint. So he softens him. He flatters him. When the Muslim heard Raghunath Das' appealing voice, his heart softened. He began to cry, and tears glided down his beard. The Muslim Chowdhury told Raghunath Das, "You are my son from this day on. Today, by some means, I shall have you released." After informing the minister, the Chowdhury released Raghunath Das and began to speak to him with great affection. "Your father's elder brother is less intelligent," he said. "He enjoys 800,000 coins, but since I'm also a shareholder, he should have given me a portion. Now you go and arrange a meeting between me and your uncle. Let him do whatever he thinks is best. I shall completely depend on his decision." Raghunath just arranged a meeting between the uncle and the Chowdhury. The matter was settled and everything was peaceful. In this way, Raghunath Das passed 1 year exactly like a first-class business manager, but the next year decided to leave home. He got up and left one night. His father caught him in a distant place and brought him back. This became almost a daily affair. Raghunath would run away from home and his father would always bring him back. Then Raghunath Das's mother spoke to his father as follows. "Our son has become mad," she says. "Just keep him by binding him with ropes." His father was being very unhappy. He replied to her as follows. "Raghunath Das, our son, has opulence like Indra, the heavenly king. And his wife is beautiful as an angel. Could not tie down his mind. How then could we keep this boy home by binding him with ropes? It is not possible even for one father to nullify the reactions of one's past activities. Lord Chaitanya bestowed his mercy on him. Who can keep home such a madman? Who can keep home such a madman as Chaitanya Chandra?" Then Raghunath was considered something in his mind, The next day he went to Nityananda Goswami. In the village of Panihati, Raghunath Das obtained an interview with Nityananda Prabhu, who was accompanied by many kirtan performers, servants, and others. Sitting on a rock under the bank of a tree at the Ganges, Lord Nityananda seemed as effulgent as hundreds of thousands of rising suns. Many devotees sat on the ground surrounding him, seeing the influence of Nityananda Pandit. Raghunath Das was astonished. Nityananda Prabhu is very influential. That's why there's a beautiful prayer, Kamatsara Rakshatu Dinukadi Krura, or this to Balaram. Nityananda Vadu Tendu Vasudha Prana Vallabha Jana Vijinimitapati Krishna Prema Prada Prabhu Padmavati Sudashriman Sachinanana Purvajaha Bhavanmato Jagatata Rakta Gauda Kalivara. You know this prayer? Oh, you must learn. Everyone who repeats this prayer every day before 7:30, he goes back to Godhead. It's clearly stated. The prayer is written by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. I have it. I can give it to you. I give it to Maharaj. He's special. I give it to you and you should learn it by heart. It's a very wonderful prayer. There's a prayer for Nityananda, prayer for Balaram also. I can give you as well. Kamatsada Rakshatu Dinukari Kuratsaramam Divita Prahari Lubatsada Rakshatu Balvalari Mohatsaramam Kilamagadari. It says, my dear Balaram, free me from lust, anger, greed, and illusion. These are the problems. Not my problems. They are our problems. Everyone in the material world has these problems. Lust, anger, greed, madness, illusion, envy. So we have to approach Lord Nityananda for that. Or as a matter of fact, Lord Nishingadev. So, hearing this, Raghunath Das offered his obeisances by falling prostrate. I need to drink some water. Prostrate at a distant place, and the servant of Nityananda pointed out, there's Raghunath Das offering you obeisances. That's good. Hearing this word, Lord Nityananda said, you are a thief. Now you have come to see me. Come here, come here. Today I shall punish you. The Lord called him, but Raghunath did not go near to the Lord. Then the Lord forcibly caught him and placed his lotus feet upon Raghunath Das's head. What a mercy. What a mercy of Nityananda's lotus feet on head. Lord Nityananda was by nature very merciful and funny. Being merciful, he spoke to Raghunath Das as follows. You are just like a thief, for instead of coming near, you stay away at a different place. Now that I've captured you, I shall punish you. Make a festival and feed all my associates yogurt and chipped rice. Now we're coming to the story. Hearing this, Raghunath Das was greatly pleased. That chipped rice festival, most famous chipped rice festival in the Western world is where? Atlanta. And who started it? Japataka Maharaj. He started it, that chipped rice. He goes every year, he goes there for the chipped rice festival and distributes some prasadam to the devotees. I never went there. We were right next door. I was running this farm in Tennessee. And he's in Georgia, right underneath Tennessee, but we never made it because we were so absorbed in the farm. Raghunath Das immediately sent his own men to the village to purchase all kinds of eatables and bring them back. Raghunath Das brought chipped rice, what they call them, puha? Is that puha? Chipped rice? Puha. Puha, yeah. See? Prithu knows. Yogurt, milk, sweetmeats, sugar, bananas and other eatables, and placed them all around. As soon as they heard that a festival was being held, all kinds of brahmanas and other gentlemen began to arrive. Thus there were innumerable people. Seeing the crowd increasing, Raghunath Das arranged for more eatables from other villages. He also brought 200 to 400 large round earthen pots. He also obtained 5 or 7 especially large earthen pots, and in these pots a brahmana began soaking chipped rice for the satisfaction of Nityananda Prabhu. In one place, chipped rice was cooked in hot milk in each and every one of the last pots. Then half the rice was mixed with yogurt, sugar, and bananas. I get hungry when I read this. The other half was mixed with condensed milk and special types of banana known as champakala. Then sugar, clarified butter, and camphor was added. After Nityananda Prabhu had changed his clothes for new ones and sat on the platform, the Brahmana brought before him the 7 huge pots. On that platform, all the important associates of Nityananda Prabhu, as well as other important men, sat down in a circle around the Lord. Among them were Ramadas, Sudarananda, Gadadhar Das, Murari, Kamalakara, Sadashiva, and Purandara. So, Dhananjaya, Jagadish, Parameshvara, Das, Mahesha, Gauri Das, and Hora Krishna Das were also there. Similarly, Udaranga, Datta, Thakur, and many other personal associates of the Lord sat on the raised platform with Nityananda Prabhu. No one could count them. So, hearing about the festival, all kinds of learned scholars, brahmanas, and priests went there. Lord Nityananda Prabhu honored them and made them sit on the raised platform with him. Everyone was offered 2 earthen pots. In one was put chipped rice with condensed milk, and the other one chipped rice with yogurt. All the other people sat in groups on the platform. No one could count how many people were there. Each and every one was supplied with 2 earthen pots, one with chipped rice soaked in yogurt, and the other of chipped rice soaked in condensed milk. Some of the brahmanas, not having gotten a place on the platform, went to the bank of the Ganges with 2 earthen pots and soaked their chipped rice there. Others who could not get even a place in the Ganga got down into the water and began eating their 2 kinds of chipped rice in the Ganga. Some sat on a platform, some sat on the base of a platform, some sat on the bank of the Ganga, and they were all supplied 2 pots each by 20 men who distributed the food. At that time, Raghava Pandit arrived there. Seeing the situation, he began to laugh in great surprise. He brought many kinds of cooked food and ghee and offered to the Lord. This prasadam he first placed before Nityananda and then distributed among the devotees. Raghava Pandit said to Lord Nityananda, "For you, sir, I've already offered food to the deity, but you engaged in the festival here, and so the food is lying there untouched." Lord Nityananda replied, "Let me eat all the food here during the day, and I shall eat at your home at night." So he has a capacity, eating a lot of food. Who has the biggest capacity in ISKCON to eat gulab jams? Anybody know? Huh? No? Brahmananda. He can eat up to 82 gulab jams. And then we had to carry him, 16 people had to carry him upstairs. And he slept. He hallucinated, actually. He saw colors, he said. And then he slept, and you heard a whole Vatseka Avenue. So what is that? It's a Brahmananda. Why wake him up? We can't. He's like Kumbhakarna. 82 gulab jams. How many can you do? How many can you do? Maybe 5. I can do 1 or 2. I belong to a coward community of boys, and therefore, in general, I have many coward boys associated with me. I'm happy when we eat together in a picnic like this by the sandy bank of a river. Lord Nityananda made Raghava Pandit sit down, had 2 pots delivered to him also. There were 2 kinds of chipped rice soaked in them. When chipped rice had been served to everyone, Lord Nityananda Prabhu in meditation brought Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He meditated and Lord Chaitanya appeared. Amazing that one. He has that power, he could just meditate, Lord Chaitanya would come. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived, Lord Nityananda stood up. They then saw how the others were enjoying the chipped rice with yogurt and condensed milk. From each and every pot, Lord Nityananda took 1 morsel of rice and pushed it into the mouth of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a joke. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, also smiling, took a morsel of food, pushed it into the mouth of Nityananda and laughed as he made Lord Nityananda eat it. In this way, Nityananda was walking through all the groups of eaters, and all the Vaishnavas standing there were seeing the fun. No one could understand that what Nityananda was doing as he walked about. Some, however, who were very fortunate could see that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also present. So not everybody saw. Some saw Lord Chaitanya was present. Can you imagine that one day we're going to see Lord Chaitanya? All of us. It's just a matter of time. Who wants Kentucky Fried Chicken when you can see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the very near future? Who does want anything in the material world? When he actually understands that the possibility for seeing Lord Nityananda, Lord Chaitanya is at hand. Then Nityananda Prabhu smiled and sat down. On his right side he kept 4 pots of chipped rice that had not been made from boiled paddy. Nityananda offered Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu a place, had him sit down, then together the 2 brothers began eating chipped rice. Seeing Lord Nityananda eating with him, Lord Nityananda Prabhu became very happy and exhibited varieties of ecstatic love. Lord Nityananda ordered all of you eat, chanting the holy name of Hari. Immediately the holy names Hari, Hari resounded, filling the entire universe. And all the Vaishnavas were chanting the holy names Hari, Hari and eating. They remembered how Krishna and Balaram ate with their companions, the coward boys, on the bank of the Yamuna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda are extremely merciful and liberal. It was Raghunath Das's good fortune that they accepted all these dealings. Who can understand the influence and mercy of Lord Nityananda Prabhu? He is so powerful that he induced Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to come and eat chipped rice on the bank of Ganga. So we pray Namo Mahavaranyaya, Krishna Prema Padayati, Krishna Chaitanya, Namani Gurachishra Maha, because he's more merciful than Radha Krishna even. Radharani is more merciful than Krishna. Lord Chaitanya, because he's manifestation of Radharani, is more merciful than Radha even. What does Radharani has to do with Navadvip? Anybody knows? It's very simple. When Krishna performed, is this microphone working? Are you sure? Yeah? When Krishna was in Vrindavan Leela, there was Radharani on one side, there was Chandravali on the other side. And so Radharani became upset that sometimes she had to share. So she decided to create her own island, the new island, Navadvip, in Bengal. That was created by Radharani, so that she could have Krishna for himself. And then Krishna moved there. So that Radharani created this ploy. This wonderful island there. I mean, one could say that that's 1,500 kilometers away. But these distances are just on a three-dimensional level. You know, in Krishna, you see Krishna goes from Mathura, from Gokula, he goes to a place, to Vrindavan. These are huge distances, but it's just one step. It's 1 foot. Krishna is in Vrindavan, is the next step he's in this place, with the next step he's in that place. You see, in the same way for Radharani, there are no material distances. You know, it's a material conception where you have kilometers. It's just one step next to each other. Like I explained to you yesterday, that yogi takes bath in Yamuna and comes out in Ganga. Because for us it is so many miles, but not for a person on a higher level. So Navadvip is right next door. And so she created Navadvip to have Krishna for herself, but then there's Lord Chaitanya is more merciful than Radha, and Lord Nityananda is more merciful than Lord Chaitanya. How do we know this? When Jaga and Madai threw earthen pot on Nityananda, he was bleeding. Lord Chaitanya was ready to kill him. He evoked his Sudarshan chakra. And Lord Nityananda said no. Although he was hurt, it was him who was hurt. He said, no. Let him live. You have not come in this age. In previous age, as Krishna, you have come to punish the demons. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam. But there's no vinashaya chaduskritam. You know, like surrender. In Krishna Leela, you have to surrender to Krishna first. He says it in Bhagavad Gita, then aham tvam sarva papabhyo, I'll free you. But in Mahaprabhu, he doesn't ask that. He said, just chant. Chant first, and then you come to me. You know, you just chant. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Ram. Thank you so much. All the confidential devotees who were cowboys headed by Sri Ramdas were absorbed in ecstatic love. They thought the bank of the Ganges to be the bank of the Yamuna. You see. When the shopkeepers of many other villages heard about the festival, they arrived there to sell chipped rice, yogurt, sweetmeats, and bananas. This is even now, you know, in America I've seen, you know, there's some big catastrophe, you know, some landslide or some explosion or something. Immediately shopkeepers arrive and sell Coca-Cola and sandwiches and you know, taking advantage of the situation immediately. You know, within minutes, shopkeepers are selling T-shirts and all kinds of things. This is a mentality of shopkeepers. Wherever the business is, they go. At the same time, bringing all kinds of food, Raghunath Das purchased it all. He gave them the price for their goods and later fed them the very same food. Anyone who came to see these funny things that were going on also were fed chipped rice, yogurt, and banana. After Lord Nityananda finished eating, he washed his hands and mouth and gave Raghunath Das the food remaining in the 4 pots. There was food remaining in 3 other big pots of Lord Nityananda, and the Brahmana distributed it to all the devotees, giving a morsel to each. Then a Brahmana brought a flower garland, placed the garland on Nityananda's neck, and smeared sandalwood pulp all over his body. When a servant brought betel nut and offered them to Lord Nityananda, the Lord smiled and chewed them. Any one of you have eaten betel nut? How does it taste? How does it taste? Bitter or sweet? Bitter? Pungent? Not so good. So I have been saved by the mercy of Lord Nityananda from sandalwood and betel nut. With his own hands, Lord Nityananda distributed to all the devotees whatever flower garlands, sandalwood pulp, and betel nuts remained. After receiving the remnants of food left by Lord Nityananda Prabhu, Raghunath Das, who was greatly happy, ate some and distributed the rest among his own associates. Thus I have described the pastimes of Lord Nityananda Prabhu in relation to the celebrated festival of chipped rice and yogurt. Nityananda rested for the day, and when the day ended, he went to the temple of Raghava Pandit and began congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Lord Nityananda first influenced all the devotees to dance, and finally he himself began dancing, thus inundating the entire world in ecstatic love. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was observing the dancing of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda could see this, but others could not. Dancing of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, like the dancing of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, cannot be compared to anything within the 3 worlds. No one can properly describe the sweetness of Lord Nityananda's dancing. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally came to see it. After the dancing and after Lord Nityananda had rested, Raghava Pandit submitted his request that the Lord may take supper. Lord Nityananda Prabhu sat down for supper with his personal associates and made a sitting place on his right side for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Like I told, did I tell everybody the story that Prabhupada in a kirtan in Conway Hall in London, in the middle of the kirtan, Prabhupada was dancing like this, a famous photo of him. There was a pipe organ in the back. And he was dancing, and all of a sudden Prabhupada screamed, Narada Muni. It was his song. What is it? Narada Muni? Bhajana Veena? He started singing, and the devotees were astounded. And then Prabhupada was dancing like this, and they asked him, Prabhupada, what happened? He said, Narada Muni arrived. He said he witnessed our kirtan because Prabhupada is such an important person. We have no idea what an important person. Nityananda himself predicted him. That my Sena will come. So there's a Sena right there in the middle of London, British London, unimaginable to the Britishers of the Indian time. In the middle of London, dancing, chanting Haribol, Haribol. Narada Muni appeared, and then Prabhupada told us to make a little Vyasa-san, and you can, when you go into the temple in Oxford Street Temple, you see there's a little asana with a murti of Narada Muni, because he appeared in London. Imagine that. He came to London. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came there and sat down at his place. Seeing this, Raghunath Pandit felt increasing happiness. Raghava Pandit brought the prasadam before the 2 brothers, and thereafter distributed prasadam to all the other Vaishnavas. There were varieties of cakes, sweet rice, and fine-cooked rice that surpassed the taste of nectar. There were also varieties of vegetables. Food prepared and offered to the deity by Raghava Pandit was like the essence of nectar. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came there again and again to eat such prasadam. When Raghava Pandit offered the food to the deity after cooking, he would make a separate offering for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Every day Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would eat at the house of Raghava Pandit. Sometimes he would give Raghava Pandit the opportunity to see him. Raghava Pandit would bring and distribute prasadam to the two brothers, feeding them with great attention. They ate everything, and therefore there were no remnants left. He brought so many presentations, no one would know them perfectly. Indeed, this was the fact that the Supreme Mother Radharani personally cooked in the house of Raghava Pandit. Srimati Radharani received from Durvasa Muni the benediction that whatever she cooked would be as sweeter than nectar. That is a special feature of her cooking. Aromatic and pleasing to see the food was the essence of all sweetness. The two brothers, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda, ate with great satisfaction. All the devotees present requested Raghunath to sit down and take prasadam, but Raghunath told them he would take prasadam later. All the devotees took prasadam, filling themselves to the brim. What does it mean, to the brim? Yeah. In America they say to the gill, like a fish. He has gills, means here, behind the ears. A little higher even, to the gills. Fish has gills, you know, they're open like this, you know, when he breathes, you know, gills. So, thereafter chanting the holy names, they stood up, washed their hands and mouths. After eating, the two brothers washed their hands. Raghava Pandit brought flower garlands and sandalwood pulp and decorated them. And this is 120, the verse 120 I'm supposed to read too. Shri Gaura Nitai ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Go Premananda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Gaura Nitai ki jai. ISKCON South Bengaluru ki jai. Hare Krishna.